used to be that people didn't work much past age 65, but many seniors today are still working at 70. So even if you have a good health plan at work, if you're getting close to 65, you should still sign up for Medicare. Expert Danielle Roberts, author of 10 Costly Medicare Mistakes You Can't Afford to Make, explains why. And so there are a lot of seniors who, when they're getting near the end of their working career, maybe they're working to 67 and they're eligible for Medicare at 65. If you have a good health plan at work, how should you approach Medicare as your 65th birthday approaches?
This is so important because back in the 60s, when Medicare was originally rolled out, people often didn't work past 65. That's why they chose 65. That was around the time when they would need to retire. And that was because jobs back then were more physical. We live in a digital age. Everything has changed now. And people can work in a sedentary job that doesn't require a bunch of physical labor. And they might be able to do that for much, much longer than somebody that would have been, in a more physical type job. So when someone is coming up on Medicare now, a lot of times you're running into people that they're okay to work until age 70 or 75. And so they have some employer coverage and they wonder, which pieces of Medicare should I enroll in? And if I don't enroll, am I going to get a penalty? So the way that this works and what we advise is if you work for a company that has more than 20 employees or your spouse does, and you have insurance through that company, then that company insurance is primary and Medicare is going to be secondary. So what we would advise in that situation for most people is you can enroll in Medicare Part A because Part A has a zero premium for anyone that has put in their working quarters during their lifetime. And in the USA, most people have done that by the time they reach 65. So Part A will coordinate with that employer insurance and it could lower your spending in the event of a hospital stay. But it's not going to hurt you most of the time to have that Part A, but you would delay enrollments into Parts B and D because those two parts have monthly premiums. And why would you want to pay a monthly premium for outpatient coverage under Part B when your employer plan already has outpatient coverage covered for you? And likewise with the Part D, your employer coverage almost surely has good drug benefits built in. So you didn't want to spend the extra money to enroll in Part D. So most people with a large employer scenario will enroll in Part A at 65 and delay the rest of the parts until they get ready to retire, at which point they reach out to an agent like us, and we help them with the proper forms that they need to put in place to get the rest of their Medicare set up by the time that they retire. Now, one caveat to that is today, a lot of employers have what's called a high deductible health plan, and then they give you this health savings account that you can deposit money into. And a lot of people love that because it's a tax write-off, et cetera. But the IRS won't let you contribute into an HSA if you have any other form of insurance active besides the employer insurance. And unfortunately, Medicare is insurance. So if that's the type of insurance you have, you would delay all the parts of Medicare. You would just not enroll in any of it until such time that you were getting ready to retire. And so that's kind of the general rule for most people out there. But on the flip side of that, if you're in the smaller percentage of people that work for small companies, so a company that has less than 20 employees, well, in that scenario, Medicare is primary. So you for sure want to sign up for it because otherwise you might go into the hospital and not have coverage. You might go into the doctor and not have coverage because you never signed up for A and B, which are your hospital and outpatient coverage. So you could find yourself in a world of hurt with unexpected medical bills if you didn't set that up. So in that scenario, we would advise that usually you go ahead and sign up for Medicare Part A and B right when you turn 65. And you can keep that employer coverage as secondary, or you could compare it against what a Medigap plan would cost and see if there's savings there to be had. If there isn't, you just stay with that employer coverage until you retire. And just like with the other group, we would help you put the forms in place to get your supplemental or advantage plans set up when you're leaving that employer coverage.
In the last part of our talk, Danielle Roberts explains the most important fact about Medicare that would help seniors if they only knew about it. Don't miss it.